welcome. I'm so happy and glad because we are currently on the Oodi, it's called Oodi, library at the center of Helsinki in Finland. Can you imagine? I'm super excited to be recording here some podcasts and interviews with amazing people. As we know, we've been talking about this, Finland is currently the happiest country in the world. For the seventh time, it's the happiest country in the world according to the UN. And in this conversation, we're gonna learn, we're gonna figure out why? What is behind all this structure of happiness that makes Finland a very good place to live? So for learning all of this stuff, I have here with me a very special person, a very admirable expert and professor in Finland, Frank Martela. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you for being here. I know you're a very busy person, so thank you for making time.
Yeah, no worries. Always happy to talk about happiness.
So please introduce yourself a little for our audience.
Yeah, so I'm Frank Martela. So I'm assistant professor at this Aalto University, which is one of the bigger universities here in Helsinki area in Finland. And I do research on topics like well-being, happiness, meaning in life, human, say, basic psychological needs. And then I do research on those like both on the individual level, but there's also trying to figure out how can organizations and how can nations and societies support the well-being of the people.
Okay, and for how long have you been doing all this research?
Quite many years, I guess. Like I started my PhD some more 15 years ago or something like that. So since that, I've been like full-time researcher. That has been like my main job, to trying to figure out answers to these grand questions of good human life.
Oh, so you started like getting interested in all this stuff before Finland was the happiest place in the world.
Yeah. So I had been studying the happiness quite a long time already when this was announced that Finland was the happiest country.
And you're a Finn?
Yeah.
Oh, so I can imagine that it's very like special to you that like you've been studying all these years this topic, and now for like this last 7 years, Finland is the happiest country in the world. So what does that mean to you?
Yeah, I guess like actually like when it was first announced then 7 years ago that Finland was the happiest, I guess like the Finnish people actually were very like, skeptical about the results. The Finnish people didn't want to believe that it could be true, because I guess like the Finnish self-image is that we are kind of like this slightly melancholic kind of people. We are introverted, quiet kind of people. And then, but then international media announced that, hey, you're the happiest. That didn't like fit at all with like how people were thinking about themselves. So the Finnish people were quite much criticizing the whole report and saying that there must be something wrong with the methodology and so forth when it came out. So that was like quite funny reaction from the people, that Finnish people didn't want to accept that they would be happy.
Really? So, but weren't they happy then? Or what did they think about it?
Yeah, so I guess like they were like quite skeptical about it and saying that this cannot be true. But I guess like one key thing to think about, realize about this World Happiness Report is that the thing that they're measuring is this like general life satisfaction. So they're measuring like this. Think about your life on a scale from 0 to 10. 0 is the worst possible life. 10 is the best possible life. Where would you put yourself on that kind of scale?
Okay.
So that's a question. So it's not a question about, did you experience joy today, or did you laugh today? Did you smile today? And when there has been like these studies where like people, it has been like asked from people like, did you experience joy? Then Finland hasn't been like the happiest country on that kind of index. Actually, like Latin American countries perform very well on that kind of indexes usually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, like joy by...
Yeah, joyfulness and these kind of, when people ask like, did you experience joy today? Then I think was it Costa Rica or Nicaragua, which was like number 1 in the world as regards that kind of index.
Wow. And do you know in which place was Mexico?
I would assume that probably is quite high as well, because like I think the Central American countries were all of them like quite high on this list.
Okay, at least that's something proud to be about.
Yeah. So like the kind of like the index where Finland is performing very well is when people like stop and reflect about their lives. Is my life good? And then in those moments, then the Finnish people, in the end, they think that, okay, yeah, there's like things are actually quite good in my life, so I'm quite satisfied with it.
Okay, so it's like more about satisfaction.
Yeah, it's more about satisfaction than like joyfulness.
Okay. So we shared that when you were asking like these questions, like from the scale to 0 to 10, like which is the best life for you, or that was the question, right?
Yeah, that was the question. Yeah.
Okay, like what do you mean by best life, or which were the requirements to measure this level of happiness in Finns?
So I guess like everybody can like define it for themselves. So that's the kind of the point of the question, is to leave it open to the kind of the people who answer the question. They can think about themselves, like, what are the standards for like good life for them, and answer based on that. So in that sense, there's like no general answer to that, but like everybody can think about for themselves that, do I feel that my life is going well, or do I feel that my life is not going well? And then based on that, they can answer.
So it's very subjective. We can say.
That's the point of the question, that it's try to be very subjective, give everybody room to define for themselves what is good life for them, and then like answer based on that.
And this was the only question that was
the only
made.
question. Yeah. So like this Gallup World Poll, they make these surveys around the world. So there's like more than 100 countries that they survey. In every country, they try to get this like this nationally representative sample, like more than 1,000 people answering, and trying to make sure that there's like all age groups, both genders, like different demographics, are all represented in the sample, to make it as representative as possible.
Okay.
And then everybody answers the question, and then they just calculate the averages for each nation.
Okay.
And put the countries on a ranking based on that.
And Finland was the first.
Yeah, Finland has been now the first for several years in a row.
Wow. Okay, that's amazing. And I'm glad that you say that it's not biased. Like there was diversity in
they aim to make sure that the sample is as unbiased as possible.
What do you think are like the main reasons for Finland to be I know it's subjective, but is it something that in the infrastructure of Finland, the government, the system is doing well, so Finns could like feel that their life is being like as best as it can?
Yeah. So we have been like studying like what are the factors that usually predict which nations are doing well on these kind of surveys, which nations have like this high life satisfaction, and we were able to identify basically these 4 factors that contribute to that. One of them is like having this like well-functioning democratic system. So those countries which have like free elections, free speech, and free press, and also like low corruption, well-functioning institutions, those countries tend to be happier than the countries that don't have that. And when there are any international rankings of lack of corruption, for example, I think Denmark is number 1 and Finland is number 2 as regards lack of corruption internationally. And the same goes for like free speech and free elections. That the Nordic countries, Finland, Sweden, Denmark, Norway, Iceland, they always tend to be the countries which have like the best functioning democratic system.
Okay.
So that's one key factor that explains why some nations have like higher levels of happiness.
Okay. When we're talking about free elections, you mean like you get to vote and you get to choose who's going to represent you?
Yeah, and also like that everybody can be like candidate. So there's like no restrictions on the candidates and so forth.
Okay.
Because of course, like in some countries, it's like more restricted to know that the ruling party doesn't allow everybody to be a candidate, or doesn't allow like some demographic groups to vote, or makes voting very hard for certain people. Okay. So there's also all these kind of things. And as regards these things, then the Finland seems to be one of the countries which had like least these kind of obstacles.
Okay. And when you're talking about like free press or free speech, like what do you mean? Can you give some examples that how you experience it in Finland?
So I guess like the press is quite freely like criticize the government and still like get away with that. So because again, that's something that in some countries you have these situations where like journalists disappear or are killed, or some newspapers lose their support, and everything like that can happen in many countries. But like
in Mexico, sorry, it's one of the most dangerous places to be a journalist, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly. So like and that's like something that in Finland there's like very little that. So I guess like of course Finland is not perfect, but still like journalists are generally quite safe and quite free to say anything they want without having to fear from anything coming from the government.
Okay. What about free speech? Like about, I don't know, like social problems, like LGBT community, like women's rights, like is it something that it's very present also in like Finn society?
I guess like there's discussion about all the topics, and as regards free speech, I think like usually the problem, at least in Finland, that doesn't come from the government. It's not government who is like censoring people, but it's more that there's like these like some kind of like right-wing groups that that are very active on social media, and especially like against women, for example. If women like express certain political opinions, then they know that they start to get these death threats and all these calls and stuff like that. So these kind of things happens also in Finland.
Really?
Yeah. So
wow. But like threats, like because talking about what, like abortion or what kind of topics?
Like, abortion hasn't been like a big issue in Finland, but like for this LGBT rights and these kind of issues, I think that sometimes when people are advocating for that kind of rights, then there's like some like right wing people who are then like anonymously threatening them or doing that, and so that kind of things happen sometimes in Finland.
Okay, but it's something that comes from society, but not something that is like prohibited or illegal from the government.
Yeah, exactly. So that kind of like the threats to free speech in Finland doesn't come from the government. So government is not like threatening people, but it's like just like some individuals within the country who then like use the kind of like the social media to give these anonymous like threats and so forth.
Okay, and you also mentioned very low levels of corruption, right?
Yeah.
Why would you say are the main reasons that Finland has such low levels of corruption?
I guess like there's like quite strong trust in the institution, trust in people. So people like that it has been the tradition that the people trust the institutions, and also because of that, then the people who are in the institutions that they feel that they have to like be trustworthy. Mm-hmm. So I guess like it's hard to say like what are the kind of like historical reasons about that, but it has been the situation for like I guess like quite many decades that Finland, the institutions tend to be very trustworthy, and there's like very little corruption compared to other countries. Of course, like from time to time there are some scandals also in Finland, but still like there's less of those than compared to almost any other country.
Okay, yeah, and I can imagine also that if you have like a very you're witnessing that you have a very high quality of life, like you get all these services for free, all these health services or like maternity clinics or free education, then people are actually pretty sure that their taxes or their money are being used in a good way. And that gives also trust to the institutions and the government, no?
Yeah, exactly. And I think like when there's like some surveys about how happy are you to pay taxes, then Finland tends to be the country where people are very happy, or like most people are very happy to pay the taxes.
What?
Yeah, but because that's exactly because people feel that that the tax money is put to good use, that they don't have to fear that the money like is gone into corruption or something like that, but they feel that okay, this money that I pay in taxes, I get like various services for myself. If there's some threat to my life or something like that, I get the healthcare, I get the unemployment benefit or whatever I need in this situation. My children get the healthcare and so forth. And then people feel that okay, other people who are in need get like services through this tax money that I'm paying. Okay. So because of that, of course there are people who complain about taxes also in Finland, but it's like still on average quite many people are quite happy to pay the taxes.
Okay, and I can imagine that these are other reasons, because you were talking about one reason.
Yeah.
That was a well-function of institutions.
Yeah.
But there are other reasons.
Yeah, so the second reason is like a bit like connected, but it's about like these welfare benefits, and like give that those countries would have like high quality welfare benefits like unemployment benefits, pensions, health, like free healthcare, maternity leave, paternity leave, paid like maternity and paternity leave, and these kind of things. Those countries which have these kind of services, who are kind of like taking care of the citizens, those also tend to be countries where the average level of life satisfaction is very high. So the happiest countries tend to be countries where there's quite extensive amount of services to the citizens.
Okay, how do you mention unemployment benefits? How does this unemployment benefit work?
So I guess like everybody has like this basic level that they can get if they're unemployed, and besides that, then like the more you work, then you learn this that you can get like this higher benefit through that. So like I guess like for a certain amount of month after you get unemployed, you get like almost as much money that you got from your work, the salary that you had. Because every month when we pay our salary, we pay like this small like insurance money from the salary that is then used. That if I get unemployed, then I know that that I get like almost as much salary for the next couple of months from the unemployment benefits that can like then help me get through that time before I find a new job.
But that doesn't come from your last job. That comes from the government.
Yeah, so but everybody's then like every month they're paying like a certain small amount of their like salary goes to fund this kind of thing.
Okay, and how are pensions managed also?
So it's same for pensions. Like every month when I get my salary, there's like small deduction made that is like going into my like pension fund in a way. And then when I'm then retiring at some point, then I start to get the pension, and that also like the amount of pension is depending on like how much I earned during my lifetime. But there's like a certain minimum level that even if you wouldn't have earned anything, you still get like a certain minimum level of pension.
Okay. And do you have like any say in how much are you going to pay per month, or it's something like proportional to what you're earning?
Yeah, it's a proportional to what you're earning. So like and then some people might want to like in addition to that. So that's like kind of like something that like is compulsory, so everybody has to do it. But then like some people might want to like put some additional money away to like some additional pension fund to get like even more pension. So that's like voluntary. But kind of like the basic pension is something that is kind of like compulsory. Everybody has to.
Okay.
Do that.
You mentioned also maternity and paternal leave, right?
Yeah.
How does that work?
So so my kids are a bit older, so I don't remember exactly how many months it's nowadays because it has changed from the time I was like, but my kids were small. But I think it's something like, if I'm not completely correct, it's something like 6 months for the mother, 6 months for the father, and then was it 6 months that they can share, like either of them can take. And that's again like something that you get the salary for that 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in that sense, you can like be home with the child but still earn some money.
Okay, yeah, I've been talking to some other like Finn people, and they just told me it's quite the same right now. Like nowadays, it's also in total, it's like about 1 year of maternal or paternal leave.
Yeah,
and you can like mix it, or you can like if. You can like give your partner like more months, or take some months from your partner.
Yeah,
you can manage it.
Yeah, I think that there's like there's certain amount which is only for the mother, certain amount which is only for the father, and then there's certain amount you can like choose whoever can take it.
Okay. And so you are still getting paid.
Yeah, you're still getting paid during that time.
If it's like you're getting paid your whole salary or just an amount like.
It's not the whole salary, but it's quite big proportion. I think it's some like 80% of your salary or something like that. So It's like almost the same that you would get if you would be working full time.
Okay. So do you think it's like the longest like paternal or maternal leave like in the world?
I think like actually Estonia and Sweden actually might have even longer ones. But I would assume that it's probably among the longest ones. But some countries I think like Estonia and Sweden at least have a bit longer.
Okay, and what are like besides paternal and maternity leaves and all these unemployment benefits and the pension services, what other welfare services does the government offers to Finns?
Good question. I probably don't remember all of them, but I feel like the healthcare is like of course one key service that that you can get these healthcare services. Okay. But then, of course, also like when you're unemployed, you might like get like some courses or something like that can help you help you to get the next the next job.
Okay.
And then the educational system is also like quite free, like free of charge, basically. That for the elementary school, high school, you don't pay anything, and in the universities, when you're a university student, you actually get like few hundred euros every month from the government.
Okay.
To like support you during that time.
Just because you're a student.
Just because you're a student, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, of course, you have like to earn certain amount of credits, during that time. That if you're a student but you don't earn any credits, then you don't get the money.
Okay.
But as long as you're like progressing with your studies, you get like a certain amount of money for just studying.
Wow.
So government wants like can support people getting these educational degrees.
And how high is the quality of education in Finland?
I think like it's considered to be quite high. Like that there's like these PISA examinations that are done in different countries. And Finland has been performing very well in those. Like it's like for elementary school kids, Finland used to be, I think, like even number one in some of these tests, but now it's not number one, but it's still like in the top league of these tables. So yeah, the education system is usually considered to be very high quality. And also it's like very equal in the sense that, it doesn't matter which elementary school your kids go to. They get like the same high quality everywhere. Because in many countries, like people are choosing kind of which school they take their kids. So there's like, these more expensive schools for like, and if the parents can afford, they want to put the kids in those schools. And then for poorer people, there's like some other schools. But we don't have like much of that in Finland. It's like the elementary school system is quite equal for everybody. So people just tend to go to the closest school because it doesn't like matter which school you go to, because in all schools, the teaching quality is the same.
Okay. And would you say they're all public schools?
Yeah. So basically all of them are public schools. So there's like, some like, private schools for like, if you want to, for like certain like religious groups, they might want to have their own school, or then like for certain language groups, like people who don't speak Finnish, they might have like their own private school for people in a certain language. But other than that, it's like, all of them are basically public schools.
Yeah. So most of the Finns like go to public schools.
Yeah. I think I would say that it has to be like 95% or something like that who go to the public school or something like that. So the private schools is a very marginal thing.
And as well as schools, hospitals. What about hospitals or clinics? Like people usually go to public hospitals.
Yeah. I think of course it might be that many people have like through their work they have like this like work like insurance, which gives them like access to some private healthcare things as well. And that's considered a bit like, the Finnish healthcare system used to be more equal in the past, but this has like kind of like then led that there's some people get like a bit better treatment. But especially as regards like this more kind of like if you have like some special needs, then like usually everybody goes to the same hospitals for like, surgeries and so forth.
Okay.
So for those, it's always like the same hospitals, no matter your status in the society.
Okay. And well, these are all this, we said like welfare services that the government offers for free. And it's only for Finns or to every person that is living in Finland?
I'm not I think like most of them are probably like, that if you're living in Finland, like then you get like most of the services, but there might be like some differences that I'm not too familiar with the system, so I wouldn't be able to comment like which services are available to whom exactly.
Okay. And which other reasons make Finland the happiest place in the world? Country.
So now we covered like this democracy, and then we covered these like welfare benefits. I think like then the third reason is like this the trust in the institution and trust in each other. So we know from research that those countries where people trust each other tend to be the countries where people are having like higher levels of well-being. And again, this is something that, is the trust in other people is quite high in Finland. So I mentioned like this one example that I've used is this Reader's Digest. They had like this thing that they like dropped like 20 wallets in different cities around the world to see like how many of the wallets are returned to the owner. So every wallet had like a small amount of money. And then there was like, this like note with the address of the owner. And I think that in Helsinki, it was like 19 out of 20 wallets that were returned, which was like the highest of any city that they were exploring.
Okay.
So it's like, Finland is quite safe country, and people tend to trust each other in various situations. And that makes, of course, like then people's life quality better when you know that you can like walk relatively safely on the street. You can let your kids go out. So I guess like, for example, my kids, like they're like 7 and 10 and 12, and they usually like they go to the school by themselves. They come home from school by themselves because that's like normal in Finland that these kids can do that because it's such a safe environment.
And aren't you afraid that they might it might happen something to them?
Not too much. I guess like that's what I did when I was a kid, and that's what they do. So it's kind of like considered quite normal here that every kid can quite freely go around.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's something that definitely wouldn't happen in Mexico.
yeah. I think it's like, I've noticed that quite many people are usually like quite surprised when I mention that, my 7-year-old, he went to school by himself, and, then he went to his friend, and then he came back at, 6 p.m. or something like that.
What, and they go walking?
Yeah, walking, and sometimes they're like cycling or something like that, or using public transportation.
Oh, so they learn to use public transportation since very young.
Yeah. Just this week, I think like my 12-year-old and 7-year-old, they came home from like another place, like in Espoo. And so they took a bus, then they took a train, and after that they took a tram.
Wow.
So they just like, and took the whole trip like just by themselves. No adults involved there.
Wow, that's amazing because they're also like very independent since very young.
Yeah, I guess like that's how they learn also this independence, and that they have these like small challenges that they can. And I remember this 7-year-old when he started school. From the first day, we wanted to walk with him to the school, but he was like from the first day he was like, no, you cannot come. I want to go by myself. So I think like we fought with him, like I guess like the first week we fought with him that we are coming with you, but after that we had to like let him go by himself because he so much wanted to go by himself. Because
all his friends were going by themselves, or why?
Yeah, I guess like also his friends probably a bit similar situation that because they just started school the first days, probably the parents were a bit with them, but after like first week, I think like most of them were just walking by themselves.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, that's definitely. But do they have like any like cell phones, even if they're young, so they can communicate if something happens?
Yeah. So they have like cell phones in that sense, of course. Yeah, so they can call. So they can call if something happens and so forth.
Okay.
So yeah, that's the modern thing. But of course, when I was a kid, that didn't exist. So then we just went out and then.
Yeah, with the blessing.
Yeah, with the blessing. Yeah.
So, talking about blessing, like how present is religions here, and what's the influence of the religion in the culture and in happiness of people?
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess like religion is like not so like visible in Finland. I would say that that I guess like most of the people still like belong to the church, like, and it's like this Lutheran church, which is like the most common in Finland. But like still, it's like not something that people are not talking about it too much, and people usually don't go to the church every week or anything like that. So I guess like Finland is quite like secular country in that sense that that religion is something that it's more important for some people, less important for other people. It's not, but it usually it's quite like a private thing, that so I wouldn't know as regards people at my work. I wouldn't know which of them are very religious, which of them are like completely non-religious, because usually you don't talk about these kind of issues at work.
Okay, wow, nice. So which will be like the fourth reason for...
Yeah, so the fourth reason then is about like this, like the freedom that people experience in their own life. And it can have like three dimensions. So one of the dimensions is like this, like freedom from these economic concerns. So I guess like because like Finland is a relatively wealthy country, and because of these welfare benefits, then like people have to worry less about the economic things than most people in most countries have to worry about. So in most countries, people are more worried about economic things and have to make more choices based on that. In Finland, people have like a bit more freedom to like think about their career more in terms of what will be the thing I like doing rather than what is the thing I can earn enough money to support my family.
Okay.
So that's one part of the freedom. Second part of the freedom is like there's kind of like the freedom from this political oppression. So because of the high quality democracy, people don't have to fear that the government is intervening in their lives. And then the third dimension is this cultural freedom. So Finland is a relatively tolerant culture. So there's like more room for people to express their different like clothing styles or different sexual identities and so forth more freely than in many other countries, and through that also experience more freedom.
Okay, so if you say that it's like liberation from material needs, it's an important reasons for Finns to be happy or that happy, then would you say that that happiness is related to material possessions?
Yeah, because like I would actually say that the opposite, that unhappiness is related to the lack of these material possessions.
Okay.
So in that sense, that when you lack, if you have to worry about whether you get food or if you feel that your children are starving, of course that causes unhappiness. So like as long as you lack these basic needs, basic physical needs, food and shelter and so forth, then it tends to cause ill-being. But then so the certain basic level is good for your happiness, that you don't have to worry about these things every day. But after a certain degree, then the money, the additional money, usually doesn't contribute to so much to happiness anymore. Because when you have your food on the table, when you have a house to live and so forth, then the additional money isn't so important for your happiness. So in that sense, certain amount of money is important for happiness, but beyond a certain point, that if you're earning already quite much, then probably if you start to earn a bit more, that doesn't contribute much to your happiness anymore.
Okay. Yeah, and you have if you're not getting all your head and energy to like how to like get some food, then you can like try other things, imagine other things, like put your efforts and your mind in other interests maybe, and also contributes to like joy and happiness, I can say.
And like it's like even like if I talk with like some like my American colleagues, that in the US, like the healthcare system is much more expensive, like the schooling system is much more expensive. So when they think about their career choices, they have to much more think about that I have to ensure that I earn at least this much so that my kids can go to the university, so that my family has this health insurance and so forth. But in Finland, you don't have to worry about those issues. So then you can like more make these choices. Just think about it. Okay, this will be the job that I would be like most excited about. I will earn a bit less than in some other job, but no, I would be happier in that job because,
of course. Yeah.
So in that sense, like I guess the system helps people to also make this more autonomous choices about what things to do in life.
So in that sense, would you say that true happiness can be achieved in a society where there is significant social and economic inequality?
I guess like probably there can be like people who can be happy even within that kind of country. Like, of course, people can find these ways to like live a good life in any society. But then on average, in a country which is supported the people, where people are relatively wealthy and where the institutions are serving the people, there's going to be much more happier people than others. So I guess like in every country, there's you can find people who are happy, who have found their own pocket within the country where they can, feel safe and secure and feel that their basic necessities are met and they can like express themselves. But on average level, then the kind of like the quality of the country and the institutions is going to make a big difference to how many people are able to find that kind of life for themselves.
Of course, yeah, and also as you mentioned, like some Central American countries, like that are really happy or experience joy. Like we know that some of them have very high levels of poverty also or social inequality. And they are happy like in their way, in their reality.
Yeah, and also like it's like because like we know that, for example, close relationships is very important for people's happiness. So that's something that if you're able to find your own community within the bigger country, and in that community you feel loved and you feel cared about, and you feel that there's like people close to you, that can already be like quite a strong source of happiness for yourself, even if like the world around you wouldn't be like the perfect.
So you just mentioned all the different reasons that made Finland one of the happiest country in the world, or like a country where lots of like welfare, well-being, high quality of life, we can also say. But you mentioned at the beginning that also Finns do not always agree with these statements. So, and the happiness goes beyond that. Like these factors contribute, but it's far beyond that. So what we'll say are like the main factors or the challenges that Finland is facing that, if addressed, will lead to a better well-being society.
I guess like one challenge is that right now it seems that the young people are the ones that are like least happy in Finland, and that's something that these seem to be happening in some other European countries as well. But so that seems to be a challenge, that for some reason like there's like more young people who like are depressed and have anxiety and these kind of issues. So this is something that we should need to challenge address at this point. They're trying to figure out what is causing this unhappiness among the younger population, and what changes can we do to help them to better have happiness. So I guess like as regards old people, they tend to be like relatively happy in Finland, but young people, for their happiness has been like going down in the last decade.
Okay. And so, Frank, I know we could be talking about this like for so much more time, but I know you have to leave. So I just want to ask you like the last question, and it might be something that will help all the audience. How can we improve a country's happiness then?
Yeah, so I guess like I guess like the wisdom that we learn from like Finland and the other Nordic countries is that that the government cannot make people happy. So government cannot come in and force people to be happy, but government can remove many sources of unhappiness from people's life. So in that sense, I guess like trying to build these welfare services that serve the people, and of course like then at the same time trying to get rid of like corruption and make sure that the money that is put into the government is actually put to good use and like that is actually helping people. These are probably the factors that like helping quite much. And I guess also like this free education is probably something that in the long term can help also to build this like high quality countries, and also like make sure that people are in the elections, they are voting for the people who are actually like benefiting them. So in that sense, like putting emphasis on like getting rid of corruption, giving people high quality education, no matter their background. These kind of things will be probably things that could help a country become more happy in the long run.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Frank. I think we've learned so much today and in a very little time. So thank you for that. Thank you for sharing all your knowledge and also like inspiration and steps to follow. So people that are listening to us in Mexico or other Latin America countries can know like what to ask, no, and put pressure to our governments, authorities, and how can we also like reproduce all these cultural traits and behaviors that Finns do that will lead us to a better well-being society.
Yeah, I guess like the Finland and these countries show that you can build countries which have like very low levels of corruption where the institutions are working quite well. So like then that's something to strive for, and then like ask the government to make changes towards that direction.
Exactly. We know now what to strike for. So thank you for that. Thank you for all the people that are listening to us. Please comment what did you like the most? What did you didn't know? And if you have any questions, also where can people reach to you? Yeah,
so I'm present like in most of these social medias like Instagram and Facebook and so forth, and then I have like web page like frankmartela.com. So these will be the places.
And what are your social media accounts?
Frank Martela usually is like
We'll put it on the screen.
Yeah, and then I actually have this book like in English language called like A Wonderful Life: Insights for Finding a Meaningful Existence, but it's also translated into Spanish language, so it should be available in the bookshops.
Amazing. Okay, so and Amazon is
it should be like in Amazon on these usual places.
Okay, well, perfect. So if you want to know more about happiness, structure of happiness, and well-being for ourselves and for our society, please go and look for Frank's book. Yeah. Thank you so much, Frank. And thank you for all the people listening to us. Send you big hugs and kisses to anywhere you are in the world. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.